Hi, this tutorial will show you how to complete a 4K transition form. First, log in to educlimber. Once you have logged into educlimber, you will click Add Form, going to My Forms, Add Form, select the type of form. You'll be selecting the 4K transition form. You'll title the form by adding the student's name and the school. Do not select private. Click Create. From here, you'll be taken to the Forms page where your forms are listed. You'll go ahead and select your form for the student that you would like to complete, and then you'll begin completing the form. From the drop-down, you'll see information that you can add, selecting the student's teacher's, your name as the teacher, the location of the program, and then you'll go through and complete each field for the form. Under Student Strengths, you'll list 4 to 5 areas of interest or strengths that you've noted for the student. This can be a brief bulleted list. You'll also note if there are any special education factors or if the student receives special education support. Only one form will be filled out for each child. So if a child in your classroom is receiving special education support, please work with the special education case manager when completing the form. You'll note the academic skills. This is your rating. You'll also note if an RTI referral has been made. If you select yes for this, you should also have an RTI referral form in educlimber as well for the child. If the child received language for learning instruction this year, you'll note that, and then you'll also mark in the description area what lesson, the last lesson that was completed for the child in language for learning was. If the child received Title I support for this year, you will mark yes, and then you can provide a brief description of the focus of the Title I support. If there have been any other areas for enrichment or interventions that you've done within the classroom outside of language for learning or Title I supports, please list that briefly in this section under the description as well. Next, you'll move on to behavior. You'll note that is the behavior appropriate, usually appropriate, needs some monitoring, needs frequent monitoring, whether or not an RTI referral was made, any contact that you've had with parents, and this is a brief description. You just can note that what conversations or supports have been provided for the parents. And then you'll go ahead and list any supports that you specifically have identified. So if the child is receiving level 2 supports, such as a specific reward system, or you were working more individually with this child in the calm down area, you can check those. Remember, these supports in the level 2 supports are the ones done more individually for this student. So it wouldn't be something that you're done that are done universally. So when you're thinking of teaching emotions, if that's something that's done for the whole class, you do not need to note. This is done more, this area is selected for when you're doing it more specifically on an individual basis for the student. Then you can go ahead and comment. In this comment section, you're just going to be brief. So noting if you taught emotions or if it was a save it for later box, if there's anything that you want to provide for the receiving school or teacher to clarify what that looks like for the child, you would comment in this area. For example, if you have teaching emotions and you know that you worked with the child on Monday when they came back after the weekends in the first 5 minutes that they arrived from school into school, and that set the tone for the rest of the week, then you would want to note that in the comments. The same is true for level 3 supports. If there are specific strategies that you are using for a certain student, such as a fix-it plan, you would check that. And then in the comment section, you would provide a little more detail. It doesn't have to be lengthy, but just a brief description of what the fix-it plan looks like. Or if you've checked one-to-one support, for example, you would go ahead and check one-to-one adult support is needed, and then you would as needed, and you would go ahead and identify some instances when that has been successful and what that looks like for the child. Down here in the final section is any other pertinent information. So if you have anything else that you'd like to share with the receiving team to help the success of the student in their transition into kindergarten, you would note this in this other section. Remember, this document is a public record and is part of the student's educational record system. Once you are done completing all of the fields within the form, you'll go ahead and share. So you'll click share in this upper right corner, and then new. You'll type the principal's name of the receiving school. So if you have a student who is going to be attending John Marshall, you'll type in the principal's last name. You'll locate that person. Once you see that person, you will click Update. And once you click Update, it will automatically share that with the principal of the receiving school. Once you've done that, I'm not doing that for this tutorial because this is just a test, so once you do that, you'll go ahead and click the X in the right-hand corner, and that will save the form and exit you from the form. To access or edit the form later, you would go back to My Forms and double-click on the form that you were viewing or that you wish to edit.